Recording in progress. There we go. So we're going. So you
All
can,
right.
you've got editing software.
Yeah, I'll be fine with
Perfect. Grand. I'll send you the whole thing.
it. Okay, sounds good.
Outtakes, bloopers, and whatnots.
All right, our first question is, where were you born?
I was born in a small country town called Darwin in Lancashire. Our high road, I suppose you'd call it the high road. Our high street is the A666. Um, yeah. So, but it's kind of it's quite out in the sticks, quite rural in Lancashire in the UK.
All right, I grew up in Salem, Massachusetts, so.
Ah, there we go. We've got the witchy connection.
How long have you been in voiceover for?
I've been a voiceover artist for um oh crikey. Uh I would say 25 to 30 years. I was a singer in a band, and a friend who had her own advertising agency said, "You've got a nice speaking voice. You should try it." So I did, met a guy at a party that I didn't want to go to. But he was a video producer, and he gave me my first job. And it was just, I just kind of fell into it. So, yeah.
Nice. How did you? Yeah, well, you already answered that, like how you got into voice acting. So,
Yeah. But completely by
um,
accident.
yeah. From your amazing range of accents, is it something you picked up, or was it more professionally trained?
um, I, the, I went to school quite a long way away from my house. I mean, in England, being rural means that you're 8 miles away from your house, not like in America.
Mm,
But we used to have quite a long bus journey home, and myself and a friend, we would compete for different accents, who could do the best accent. So even
yeah.
from, like the age of 12 or 13, I've been competing to get the best accent. And I think I've just got an ear for it. I love melody. I love the melody of voices. I love the
Mm,
melody of accents. Um, and I have also done courses in accent training, like where, say, for instance, my accent,
mm,
Lancastrian, it's based in an industrial part of the country. So when people were working, they couldn't necessarily hear each other. So there's lots and lots of mouth movement, which
okay.
gives that rich melody and that rich sound. Um, Whereas something like RP, it's much more closed. The mouth doesn't move as
Mm,
much, and it informs the voice. But I love accents. I love melody. So yeah.
mm. All right. Was there anyone you looked up to when you first started out?
Uh I think I think people who had beautiful voices and who could use their voice and transform themselves. So you look at somebody like Daniel Day-Lewis, who would almost physically transform on screen, but his voice would also transform.
Mm,
Or Judi Dench, again, the voice suits the character. Maggie Smith,
oh yeah.
Nicole Kidman,
Mm,
an Australian who is completely passable as Australian. I think that actors who you believe, there are so many to mention.
mm.
Um, but that's what I think is important. It's if you believe that that voice comes from that person.
All right. Let's see here. Could you walk us through like a typical voice acting day at the BBC?
BBC, for me, the BBC, it's not voice acting.
Mm,
What I do at the BBC is I'm a continuity announcer. I'm not entirely sure if you have them in the States. So I will be the person saying, um, now on BBC One at 6 o'clock, the BBC News with Rita Chakrabarti. I'm the person who introduces the
mm,
programs, who leads you, the viewer, from one program into the next. So you might be going from a very hard-hitting documentary about, for instance, drug abuse, into a light-hearted drama, and you have to lead the audience through. So that's what I do at the BBC. And when I first go in, depending on which channel I'm working and what time of day, you look at the map of the day. What programs am I mostly pointing to? You then view them and then script, look at the end of the program so that you're in the same tone, you're in the same mood as the audience. Because at the end of the day, I adore television. I love TV. And for me, I want to be a viewer as well. I don't want to be saying something that annoys the viewer.
Yeah,
that
that
you've
would be
got
bad.
yeah. I mean, you've got a brilliant film. The ending is really emotional, and then you get somebody coming up next. Blah blah blah. It's like, you've ruined my day. So what I'll try and do is like match that. And then so for the BBC, then we're live. So we will be there when the programs are on, and then we will physically fade up. We will physically talk. So if you make a mistake, keep on going. Normally what I do is giggle slightly, acknowledge it, keep on going, So yeah.
Something I could work on too,
Yeah.
When did you start at the BBC? And have you done other voiceover work that before?
I for the continuity announcing, I've worked with the BBC for 5 years on television. I worked for BBC Radio 4, which I think is one of the very, very few radio stations who also have continuity announcers, because there's drama, there's documentaries, there's live programs, there's news. So Radio 4 is almost like a television channel, but on the radio. And I did a little bit for them, which is something that I'll come back to later, I think. But my first continuity was for Channel 4, which was much more edgy. And that was, about 17 years ago. I was, as any voice person, as any actor will tell you, you get dry periods. I've been a cleaner, I've been a dog walker, I've done welding, properly have. But when in one of my quiet periods, I just took a chance, got in touch with the boss at Channel 4, and she said, I love your voice. Come on, now, come. And it was mostly Frasier, King of the Hill, that kind of thing. But yeah, so that was live, and it's as I said, for somebody who loves television and loves talking, perfect job.
All right. From what I can tell with Blue Nightingale, and most recently with the Red Seal with Alistair, you enjoy kind of voicing the bad girls a little bit. What do you enjoy voicing more, the heroes or the villains?
I think it's interesting, especially when I'm narrating writing such as yours, because you have such a wide gamut of characters, and sometimes the characters aren't necessarily, they're not black and white. The way that you write characters, they're I mean, I know that they're kind of fantastical, but they're real characters. There's a dark and a light to them. I do enjoy characters who have a darker side. I think that my voice lends itself to that. And also on stage, my casting is evil. I did a play called Schneewittchen, which is Snow White, but from the stepmother's point of view. And I was the stepmother, and I was like acid personified, but it was such a joy. I've played on stage again an Eva Perron kind of character whose husband is assassinated. She's there with him in the morgue. Turns out that he's not quite dead yet. She strangles him. I mean, that particular character, it's a brilliant play called Error of Their Ways by Torben Betts. My character did end up having her neck broken on stage. But I do enjoy that. I do enjoy the darkness, but also with humor. And that's what Blue Nightingale has. Blue Nightingale has a real, I mean, she's dark as pitch. But she's also very funny. And I think in your last book where they came together, Premium Lightning and Blue Nightingale, there was a care to her. She cared about her creations. She might have created monsters. She might have been a monster herself, but she cared about them.
Yeah, she had
Um,
like that motherly feel to her a little bit.
yeah, yeah,
Mm,
and she has got a wicked sense of humor. In the latest book that I'm narrating for you, Disillusion, the main character, she is flawed. You know, she's
mm.
not the nicest person, but I love that kind of character because they're light and dark.
Yes, like that gray, black hat, white hat,
Yeah.
wearing them both type thing.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I mean, I think somebody said years ago, even Hitler had to choose what socks to put on in the morning. There's a
Mm,
normalcy
yeah,
to evil, and I am not saying in any way, shape, or form that I align myself at all in any way with Hitler. But
with
there's,
Adolf Hitler, yeah.
yeah, evil
Mm,
people are normal people
mm.
apart from the things that they do and the choices that they make. Uh, you know, I mean, morally, I'm a real goody two shoes. I'm not. I could never be Blue Nightingale. I could play
Mm.
her, but I could never
Yes.
be her.
Um, that you spend more time with like one character, does that give you more of an ability to voice that character, or do you start from
Yeah,
scratch like every time?
I think because you're completely immersed in the character, either
Mm,
especially for audio narration, you read you read it first. You get to know the entire story. You get to know the characters first. Then you record it, and then you edit it. You're with it for so much, and it's quite intense. It's almost like a filming process or a play process, but you're the only person involved. These characters do become your best friends
mm.
for a short time. They become your clan for a short time, and then they're gone, and then you have another clan. And so in a way, what you have to do is reconnect to your friends. But it doesn't take that long at all. You know, like when you have one of those friends who you don't speak to each other for months, but when you do, hi, how are you? Oh my God, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And you're straight back in it as if you saw
Yeah.
each other 10 minutes ago. So there is that period of reconnection, but then you know where you are. And every time you revisit them, the connection and the friendship gets deeper.
It's kind of like that old shoe feeling, like that.
Yes. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, you've always got glue on hand to stick the sole back on.
Because your voice is your instrument, do you do any like warm ups or anything like that? And are there any roles that you won't take for it may harm your voice?
Yeah. Um, for uh, for narration and the longer sessions, I will always do a warm up because at some point it's almost as though if you don't do a warm up, the
Mm.
beginning process is a warm up, and your voice will change through that.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah, so what you do is before a long session, I will warm up so that I'm ready to hit the ground running, and my voice is consistent all the way through, because
Mm.
that's something that's very important, is the consistency. You don't want the listener to think, ah, it's a new day, or oh, she's had a cheese sandwich, you know. And also it does protect your voice. Your voice is a muscle, and if you would never go into a marathon without training. You would
Yeah.
never stop a marathon and just put your jeans on and go and sit down and watch TV. You'd cool down. So
Mm.
there is that process. With regards to jobs that I wouldn't touch, there isn't anything that I wouldn't touch as long as I had a buffer zone.
Okay.
For instance, I did the film Kick-Ass 2, the
Mm.
character Mother Russia. I am, my voice is every single fight or effort noise that she made. Uh,
Wow.
so her dying breath, that's me. When she moves the scaffolding, that's me. So that kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, I can hear it. Oh yeah.
But for that session, I was only in there for an hour to revoice all of those bits. However, I couldn't speak the following day, um,
Wow.
because it has to sound real. You know,
Mm.
you if you're in a fight, you haven't warmed your voice up. You know, it has to be. It has to sound tight. It has to sound as if you're in that fight and as if your emotions are running away with you.
Yeah.
So if I was to get a gig like that for a big film, I would just make sure that I had nothing booked in so that my voice could rest and come back to life. I probably shouldn't say that, but yeah, there are ways of making your throat open. But yeah, I mean, a heavy session like that can really take it out of your voice.
I've heard like on some people they drink warm tea or something like that.
Mm. Apple juice is good for me
Mm.
personally. Just warm water, room temperature water is good. Uh, Also, I mean, if you there's like a clackiness that can sometimes happen if you're dehydrated. So
Oh.
if you make sure that you're hydrated the day before, drink lots of water the day
Mm.
before, and then before your session, and just sip. You don't want too much water. Um, I think one voice coach, because I did singing lessons as well. If you're using your voice properly and your diaphragm properly, you do create a lot of saliva, and it does come out because your mouth is open. I
Mm.
remember going to see a production of Twelfth Night at the Barbican in London with Brian Blessed, Gordon's alive, that fella with a big beard.
Mm.
And we were in the front row and we were covered in spittle because he was projecting left, right, and center, and his saliva was coming out as well, which can be unpleasant, which is also
Yeah.
why another reason why a pop shield
Mm.
is a nice idea if you're using a shared microphone. But
You
yeah.
were playing with like a raincoat or something, you know.
Oh no, seriously.
Mm. Do you have any advice for someone breaking into the industry?
I think know what you want to do. It's a huge industry. It's massively competitive, especially with the various lockdowns that have happened across the world.
Mm.
People have built themselves, studios at home, and they have got good equipment. You can produce broadcast quality. You can go live from a booth like this, and because it's so competitive, know what your market is. Do your research. Search for yourself. So for me, for instance, I would go for female Lancastrian English.
Mm.
Do a search. Listen to what people's voices are like, and then be better. Do you want to do gaming? Do you want to do audiobooks? Do you want to do commercials? Do you want to do documentaries? Because they're all a different read, and they
Yeah.
all have different skills. If you want to go into commercials, you have to be prepared to be able to walk into a studio, be given a script, and be able to bring that character to life without knowing anything before you walk in. So practice, 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 practice. Read out loud. Get used to what your voice sounds like as well. Because if you're recording something and go, don't like the sound of that, it comes across, you
Mm.
know. Get used to the fact that your sound, your voice outside of your body sounds different than it does inside your body. Inside your body, it's reverberating around lots and lots of water and viscera and everything. And there's a
Mm.
lot more bass to your own voice when you're talking. So when you hear it outside of your body, it kind of can sound weaker. Get used
Yeah.
to that. Acknowledge that and love that.
All right. That
Waffle,
is actually
sorry.
really helpful, you know. Have you ever done any like TV shows or video games besides the ones you have already mentioned, or movies like that?
um, Voice wise,
Mm.
yeah, I am a character called Captain Rihanna Campbell. Sorry, Major, I think Rihanna Campbell for Mech Warrior 5.
Oh.
I'm in Warhammer 40K. I think I'm Ragnar Van Winter, another captain. I obviously specialize in spaceship captains. I can just about drive. Uh, I've been in a kind of mystery thriller game called Claire de Lune.
Nice.
What else have I been in game wise? Bard's Tale. I'm the Green Lady, who's a witch in Bard's
Wow.
Tale 4. I have done lots of games, films. I think the notable one is Kick-Ass 2. I've also been in, I think, The Hobbit,
Really?
the second Hobbit film. Yeah, I was a villager. I was frightened, scared, terrified, dying. So yeah, I mean, the thing that's another thing about voiceovers. You genuinely do not know what you're going to be going into. I mean, I got a call from my agent saying Halfords, which is a well-known company in the UK. Halfords have called up, they've requested you. Can you go down to the studio? Fine. I thought it was like a commercial. It was a commercial, but what they wanted me to do was the sound that woman makes when her bike breaks. So, what you mean? Yeah, that's it. Can you just do as far as that? Oh,
Yeah, ooh.
yeah, and that was it. And then I left. So you never know. I mean, I don't know why they specifically requested me. Maybe I just fall over a lot and they heard it. Yeah.
What would you say consists of like a fun job? Do you like it more challenging or something easy to read?
Oh God. Oh, that's a really I think that's a really hard one because every job's different. And I mean, I've narrated documentaries. There was an American documentary that came over to the UK called Maternity Ward. They had an original voice on an American voice in it, sorry, originally, and they wanted me to revoice it. And it was a medical documentary about births that were very difficult, babies that had, extreme illnesses or problems, and some of the babies died. And I know that this sounds strange that I'm saying this in answering to this question, but because that program was so, my voice had to fit, and I had to be sensitive to what people were saying. I had to be sensitive to the characters, to the women who were in these situations and the children. And
Oh yeah.
it's kind of, for me, that kind of challenge. It's finding the voice that works so that the audience, especially in documentary reading, actually, it's almost like the narration should be almost, you don't notice it. You just somehow have all this information. And if you can get the right tone, if you can be with the audience, then that to me is fun. That to me is something that I
Yeah.
really enjoy. I also enjoy gigs like, the woman falling off her bike. I've been a blue flame. I've been a fat duck. There are the obvious fun ones. I've been a rude crossbreed dog. I mean, but also, I mean, like the live stuff's fun, because if you do make a mistake, then pick yourself up, keep on going. And also audiobooks are really good fun, because you get to be those characters, and you get, and I love listening to audiobooks. And what I want to do is do some things so that people are carried away on a story. Children's stories are amazing. Children's stories for me, because it reignites the inner child in me. And I hope that I read children's stories in a way that adults can sort of, fall asleep to them or lose themselves. Yeah.
This one you kind of answered a little bit, but now that you've done 4 of my books, do you have like a favorite character and why?
I do like Blue Nightingale. I do. I also like Lucinda, which is a new character. As I said, she has, she's kick-ass. She's really good fun. She's got a sense of humor. She has a sense of humor, and she's dark, and she's light, and she's good. I think that Premium Lightning is progressing into a character who, from being almost a goody two shoes into being, do you know what? I'm jaded. I, oh, I've had my entire being crushed and regurgitated for you. But then again, she's also funny and she's Liverpudlian, which is one of my favorite accents, to be fair. One of my first accents that I did on with my friend on the school bus.
Nice.
Thank you very much for that. But yeah, I have to say, Blue Nightingale.
I plan on doing a lot more work with Blue Nightingale, so we
Yeah,
have that to look
yeah.
forward to.
I mean, she's fun, and she's as old as the hills. She, you know, I mean, we could go backwards, we could go forwards, we could be now.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
I
In
mean,
a way, she's kind of linked to Ryan Kalin with what happened to him.
right.
She's kind of got the same thing going on.
Yeah.
Have you ever published any of your own work?
No,
No.
not
Okay.
written. No, I mean, I've been told I ought to. You know, I mean, I had a friend uh, who's actually a singer in Nashville, that she said to me, you know, you really ought to publish your memoir. That what's happened to you in your life is amazing. I've had a life, you know. This and that's happened, but
from what I can tell, it sounds like an amazing one.
thank you.
You kind of answered this one to your favorite part of voice acting.
Yeah, it's the getting into it, and again, it's the melody. I think people don't hear the song in the spoken word enough. Accents are melodies. In the UK, we're such a tiny space for so many different accents. I mean, the town that I'm from, Darwin, our accent was different from Bolton, which is 3 miles away, which is different from Blackburn, which is 2 miles away. You know, I mean, there are subtleties and differences. But I was told by one of the accent coaches that I went to, she's worked with Hollywood A-listers. She said to me, do you know lots of elderly Lancastrians? I said, oh no, they've all popped the clogs, basically. She says, you've got a way of speaking your Lancastrian accent. It's almost like an ancient Lancastrian because your accent is dying out because of the internet.
Wow.
So and this is you know, it is softened from what it used to be. But yeah, this it hurts me to say that the rhoticars, the rolling sound of Lancashire is dying out. Not massively, but yeah.
You have more like this romanticism to voice acting that you really don't see anywhere else.
As in the way that I see it, or
yeah, the
well,
way
I mean,
that you voice it and the way that you see it, like that.
The thing is that I love it, and I'm telling a story. When I'm telling a story, I mean, I'm in it, and that's the important thing about reading it first, so that I'm never coming fresh to a sentence. I always know in my head what's going to be happening. But I narrated a book for the Royal Institute for the Blind, which is an organisation here in the UK, which is for blind people, and so they have free audiobooks. And I narrated an autobiography by a woman called Julie Goodyear, who's an actress here, as her. So in her voice, I was kind of mimicking her. But there were a couple of scenes. There was one scene when she's describing what happened when her mum died, and she was in the room with her when her mum died, and she felt her leave, and we had to just keep retaking because I kept crying because you're in it. And that also happened with the documentary series I mentioned, Maternity Ward. I was so involved with the story that I kind of had to, and I know that's possible. Some people may think that's unprofessional, but if you're sounding like you mean it, you have to mean it. There was another documentary series I narrated called Critical Hour, which was that hour when somebody's brought into A&E or the emergency department after an accident. And because I was in a very bad accident, and a young woman was brought in, with similar injuries to I had, and she was saying the exact same thing that I'd said. And
Wow.
uh, you know, it
Mm.
just hit me. Even though I'd seen it and I'd seen the script, when I was narrating it, I just had to go, oh, guys, can I just have a minute? Because it just took me right back to my accident. Um, I mean, you know, I was in hospital for 3 months after mine, and you know, they told me that I might be paralyzed, etc., etc. And it's one of those things where when you're in it and you're fighting, you're moving
Mm.
forwards. But then with the luxury of time, you look back and you go, oh, shit, that was big. You know, and
Yeah.
this poor girl was doing it in the exact same situation that I was. But going back to your point, I get involved. Um, and hopefully that means that the listener gets involved as well. It's not, I don't fake it. I see the action.
Let's see. Are there any common myths that you'd like to debunk of voice acting?
That it's easy. Uh, it, I think we have all heard commercials or documentaries where somebody's going, I really enjoyed this pie. It's great.
Mm.
You know, and people, you do, as I said earlier, you know, be prepared to be given a script and go, I really enjoy this pie. It's great. You know, you have, it is acting. And also, there's another thing that you can sound amazing and very free and flowing, but the minute you turn and you're in front of a microphone, it
Yeah,
can
like
make,
overwhelming a little bit.
yeah, it can,
Mm.
you know, it's you have to be able to read and sound like it's coming from you. Um, for some people, it is really easy, and it's like, what are you talking about? For other people, it's
Mm.
not. I know. I've been with engineers here in the UK who've worked with big actors who are amazing on the TV, on the television, on TV series, and they've said it took us 3 hours to do a half-hour program because he just couldn't get it. It just
Mm.
sounded awful. Um, but I think again, if you do your research, if you know yourself, if you're become at peace with yourself, then it can be easy because you can enjoy it. Um, you know, do your research. If you fail to
Mm.
prepare, prepare to fail. That's true.
What would you say is your biggest accomplishment so far in your career?
um, Now, do you know what? I've really thought about this, and I think, as actors often say, you know, you're only as good as your last job, and so
Mm.
every job that I do, every day that I'm working, is an accomplishment. There are things that I'm really proud of that I put my hand over my heart and I go, I'm glad that I said that, that I was the person that said that. And one of the one of the things that I did, I'm getting emotional. One of the things that I did or introduced on the BBC was it was in the bombing at the Ariana Grande
Yeah.
concert in Manchester, and there was a concert to commemorate those people that lost their lives. And I was the announcer that announced that. It was kind of like it was it, it was a more important announcement than just this is the news, because of those people that lost their lives, because
Oh
of what
yeah.
it meant, and the fact that it mattered, and so many people were watching, and I wanted to give it the gravitas that it deserved. And I was really emotional, you know. I mean, everybody in my director, our editor, the guys over on the other BBC channel who were live, you know, we all cried after we went into it. And for for being able to introduce that in the way that it deserved, because it was such an awful event, and those people needed to be given needed to
Respect
be
like that.
honored.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so for that tiny announcement I'm very proud of. And another one, not quite so emotional. In the UK, we've got, as I mentioned, the radio channel, BBC Radio 4. About 3 or 4 times during the day, there's something called the shipping forecast, which is just basically the weather conditions around the British Isles.
Oh.
But it's the pressure, it's the visibility, it's the whether there's going to be rain, and it's like a very mesmerizing poem with place names like Ardnamurchan Point and Machrihanish Automatic and, you know, Utsira South and Utsira North. And it's just because I did do a little bit for BBC Radio 4, as I said, and doing the shipping forecast, which is about 11 minutes straight of the weather. But the thing about the shipping forecast here in the UK, it's iconic. Dame Judi Dench, that was one of her desert island discs. If she was on a desert island, the shipping forecast is one thing that she'd take. If you can find the shipping forecast, listen to it. It will send you to sleep. It's just beautiful. But I'm one of the people that have done that, and I'm so proud. And my mum was proud of me for that as well.
What genre do you like to read more so for?
I quite like horror.
Oh.
I quite like the suspense of horror, because you can lead the listener into a false sense of security. I've done a few short stories that are of the darker thriller genre, and I really enjoy those. I really like comedy. Yeah, so maybe a dark thriller comedy.
Yeah. You ever read anything for like Poe or anything like that, or?
Edgar Allan. I've read short extracts from Poe, actually. Yeah. Both recorded and live. Strangely, because I'm part of a group that do sort of live readings. They're sort of strange collections of random tales, but we do them live. And I've done some Mary Wollstonecraft, and Edgar Allan Poe, and I have read some beautiful horror, but in RP. RP is received pronunciation. So if I'm talking to you like this is now RP. It's a slightly different accent than my Lancastrian. A lot of the work that I do is in that accent.
All right. I ask everyone this. What is your favorite music style and your favorite artist?
Do you know what? I cannot tell you what my favorite music style is. It completely depends on what mood I'm in. It might be, it might be Groove is in the Heart. It might be Sia, classical, Prokofiev, John Williams, music, film music. But I think an artist who stands out, who kind of encapsulates all of that, is Kate Bush. She's theatrical. She's a storyteller. It's a beautiful tapestry of poetry and music and storytelling. And she's incredibly talented.
I've always been a David Bowie guy myself, so.
Again, but an excellent storyteller. And he wasn't afraid to try different things.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's all of our questions for right now. I wanted to do a little something for you for our interview. I looked up online. You're doing a Kate and Sharon Rag 100.
Yes.
And Mike's Emporium, even though we're a small company, I'd like to donate £100 to your
Oh,
effort.
thank you. Thank you so much for that. Oh, bless you. That's really, really nice. Thank you. Um, yeah, as it says on the thing, like my mum, as my mum had
Mm,
Alzheimer's and she passed away um a year ago last November. And with Sharon's dad now having dementia, it's such a cruel
yeah.
thing. And so we're basically gonna spend six hours or so sitting on a bicycle riding 100 miles around London. But
No,
that's really, really generous. Thank you so much for
of
that.
course.
I hope I haven't talked too much. I could
No.
just go on and on and on and on and on. Here's me. Oh, I have to get on. But yeah, sorry.
No
I hope
problem.
that okay? Is that okay for you?
Yeah, it's perfect.
Brilliant. Oh, well, I recorded, I've started on chapter 4. I've done about 45 minutes of that. I
Okay.
am working over the weekend, but I will try and get to that. Probably I'll try and get that edited. Actually, what I might, if it's okay with you, I might try and finish off recording chapter 4 on Monday morning, and
Of
then
course.
edit it because we're going away to Wales. We're going to do some cycling up and down the hills. But I should be able to get back to that the Friday, and hopefully get that to you by the end of Friday. Is that
That's fine.
okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Perfect. Lovely to see you. Lovely to
Yeah.
see you.
Love to see you too.
Are you busy now for the rest of the day?
I'm just writing. That's about it.
Nice, nice life. I'll get back to the
Mm,
family because my brother's over actually. He does only live very close, but we're very just getting our schedules to mix because he's an actor as well. So if you were to research Peter Revel Walsh, Revel hyphen Walsh, that's my brother. He looks like a wizard slash Jesus. Uh, and he's an actor and he narrates books as well. So check him out.
All right, I will.
Cool.
Do you want to hit stop on
Oh,
recording or?
okay.